Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're doing well. Gonna read through the full article here. There's a link in the description. Surprise, surprise, it's about this guy here, this absolute fucking evil scumbag. His name is Chester Saylor Jr., 32 years of age, from South Carolina, and he's been charged with inflicting great bodily injury on a child who suffered multiple severe injuries, including to the heart and brain. So he's been denied bond at a court appearance on Tuesday. Investigators said the injuries to the 7-year-old boy took place in December. The boy had multiple broken bones and cigarette burns on his body. This C word here, this scumbag, Saylor, was out on bond on the same charges for an incident that took place in 2019. In that incident, a 2-year-old boy was scalded on the lower half of his body in the tub. So he's a repeat offender. He was currently out on bond for a child abuse charge against a 2-year-old that occurred, an incident that occurred in 2019. Somehow he's been allowed to look after a 7-year-old to which he's inflicted multiple broken bones and cigarette burns, allegedly. Here's a quote from the county sheriff. The injuries to these children are sickening. Sickening on one hand and heartbreaking on the other. These children suffered appalling injuries. South Carolina Department of Social Services Investigation Supervisor Emily Taylor said the 7-year-old had more than 42 injuries. This scumbag, Chester Saylor Jr., is not the boy's father. His mother, 30-year-old Shanice Lewis, was charged last month with 1 count of neglect of the child, the 7-year-old, and released on a $65,000 bond. The mother told police that her son had been at the scumbag's place of residence and that she found him with the injuries. She said the scumbag hit her in the face as she tried to leave to take the boy to the hospital and then followed her when she got away. The scumbag was arrested by the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Squad after weeks on the run. Here's a quote from the scumbag. I raised 2 kids and I don't need to be hit with this. I have a newborn baby on the way. The scumbag tried to convince the court to let him be released with a GPS monitor, but the magistrate refused because he was already out on bond in another child abuse case. Okay, yes, don't let him out on bond. He's clearly a fucking weirdo psychopath. He says, I raised 2 kids. I don't need to be hit with this. Yes, you do need to be hit with this because you're a fucking raging psychopath. C-word scumbag. 42 injuries to the 7-year-old. More than 42 injuries. And he'd already scalded a 2-year-old in the bath. And what about the other abuse that hasn't been reported? The boy had multiple broken bones and cigarette burns on his body. The mother, I mean, she's not apparently, allegedly, according to this, she's not responsible for these attacks. However, presumably she allowed this scumbag to act as a guardian, even if only temporary, to her child, to her 7-year-old. And she herself has previously had 1 count of neglect of this 7-year-old. I mean, fucking hell, man. These poor children. I mean, this is. I saw another article yesterday where it was similar, in that I can't remember the full details, but the poor child, the biological mother is an abuser, the father's an abuser, And then the father's girlfriend is an abuser in this other case. It just seems like this this seems like these children that some of these children that suffer these severe neglect, severe abuse, they seem to be victims from multiple adults, potentially multiple parents, time and time again. I'm thinking perhaps the majority of cases this is the case. It's not just often, perhaps the majority of the case, I'm going off the top of my head, majority of cases, it seems that the children are victimized, abused, tortured, neglected by more than one adult in many, many cases, which is the case here. The 7-year-old, his mother had one count of neglect of him, and then he gets left with this fucking psychopath who subjects him to 42 injuries, at least, cigarette burns to his body, and multiple broken bones. The boy is 7 years of age. You fucking psycho. Look, I hope this guy, just lock him up, put him in the penitentiary, whatever the right term is, and let's hope that every now and then he has the privilege allowed to him, bestowed upon him, to venture out into the general population. And let's hope that the other inmates are aware of Chester Saylor Jr.'s crimes, should he be convicted, which I presume and hope he will be, so that the other inmates can have a little word with you, Chester, so that they can express what they think about your actions, about your situation in which the 7-year-old that you were guardian of, for a short period of time perhaps, suffered more than 42 injuries, suffered cigarette burns to his body, suffered multiple broken bones at your hands. Let's see what I'd be very, very interested to see what the other inmates of whatever penitentiary you end up in, I'd be interested in what they have to think about that. It would be an interesting conversation. Maybe they have a few harsh words for you. I'm going to wrap things up there. Thanks for listening. If you do like this type of topic, this type of content, do have a look at a couple of the other videos, perhaps a playlist. If you've had enough of these dark topics, and if that's the case, I don't blame you. If you need to step away mentally from these dark topics, then do take a mental health break in whatever way you need to. Have some fun, have some light, have some love. Step away from these dark topics. And with that, I will suggest checking out one of the friends of the channel at the end of the day. There should be a link somewhere on my homepage or within this video. At the end of the day, Bella, she does live streams on YouTube, and they're nice and pleasant. It's a nice, pleasant, kind community. People chit-chatting, talking about this, talking about that, current affairs, politics, whatever it happens to be. Not as dark as this. A little bit of fun can be had. But anyway, do what you need to do to think of lighter topics, because these kind of subjects, as you're aware, I'm not trying to patronize you, as you're aware, can depress you, can depress you, and you may not even notice it. And it may be affecting me more than I realize, because I'm going through a lot of these topics, and it almost certainly is affecting me to some extent. So I need to go away and drink some wine.